Hello family, welcome back to the channel once again. This is Brian Reaction. So guys, if you're coming across any of my videos for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like and share. So in this video is all about Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottly, the most bravest, courageous and direct leader that I know, one of the most fearless leaders that we have. So she has a message to all our leaders, the cutting across Caribbean, Africa, Jamaica. She has a very strong message, a very strong warning to all the leaders across Africa and Caribbean. So I want you to watch this video and I'll be back with a few reactions.
Will you pay $5 for domestic or regional travel or $10 for international travel to help save the planet? So that the people who benefit and whose children and grandchildren will benefit feel that they too are making a difference in the effort to save the world. And if you took it to pharmaceuticals and to pandemic, you would expect them to put their part. And if you took it to digital illiteracy, you would expect those companies that now have market capitalizations in the trillions of dollars to leave a little something on the table so that we can secure we're not going to make all the SDGs by 2030, but we must now prioritize to build the bridges that will unlock the rest. And that must mean fighting hunger and poverty. That must mean providing education across the world. That must mean ensuring that we have the technical capacity to unfold the benefit of renewable energy while at the same time creating the opportunities for green investment, because foreign capital alone will only make us tenants in our own land, and therefore the domestic resource mobilization and the aggregation of capital is necessary to balance the equation so our own citizens do not become tenants in their own land. I say these things because I genuinely believe that in the same way we saw over centuries the evolution of the joint stock company, in the same way we saw over centuries the emergence of the nation state, in the same way that we recognize that this is the beginning of the end of a current world order, that we have to be prepared to recognize and to determine what are the things that are necessary to secure lives and livelihoods, people and planet, without being wed to systems that are no longer working for us and that were made in the image of people who only want to dominate and exploit. That is the spirit of Michael Manley and the word of love being practiced. I say to you today that when all of that is combined, we still have to come back home to the most basic and elemental of truths. That you and you and you and you and you and me have first always to summon the courage and to look in the mirror and to believe, as Errol Barrow said, in our mirror image. To believe, as Marcus Garvey said, that it is critical that we emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. And we forge the strength and courage to develop the confidence, not just simply to say that no man is better than me and I am not better than any man, because our people now accept that. But coming with those rights now come responsibilities, because there is no right that can exist forever without a responsibility to tend to the things. A house, this building, you leave it unchecked and unattended for, and it starts to fall. You leave your body unattended for, it atrophies. And we as a region have a duty to have mature conversations, first to begin to understand how we can reclaim the mental landscape of our own citizens, recognizing, as I did in a CARICOM Ministers of Culture meeting as a young senator in this country 33, 34 years ago, that we will never be able to stop information from flowing in unless we close down our society, and it's not practical. So that what we must do is root our people, so that when the gale force winds start to blow, the trees may bend, but they will not break. The roots are complex, and the educational system needs to be transformed to ensure, as difficult as it is, And believe you me, as I go through this process in Barbados, I know it is difficult. Because nobody wants to feel as though they are on the front line of change, particularly when the change may have implications for their own household. But in the same way that a person who is a diabetic recognizes that if I don't make that decision to sacrifice a toe, I may make the foot or the leg, or worse than that, the body through sepsis at risk. We as a region need to understand that the price of freedom is also equally the anchoring of responsibility in this Caribbean region. And that in truth and in fact, we are in the throes of an inflection point, a historic movement that really, today, causes us to have to pause. And the danger is that we might be at risk of being distracted from the fundamental things that truly make a difference to our planet and to our people, and by extension, to our Caribbean civilization. The reality is that what we are witnessing, in my view, is really the dying of an old order without yet seeing where the new order will be located and how it will be framed. The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci wrote in his famous prison notebooks, and I quote, "The old world is dying, and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters," unquote. And what are those monsters today? Is it the climate crisis? I don't refer to it as climate change because there's nothing about change in the crisis that we face. It is a season of superlatives, and it's the season of the unexpected. We see it from the droughts, to the floods, to the hurricanes, to the sargassum seaweed, to so many other things that are so unrealistic. I'm accustomed to convection rain here in Kingston, not in Bridgetown. For the last 2 years, we experienced that from August to December, almost 5 days a week. While at the same time, for the first 6 months of last year, we had less than 50% rainfall of the average 30 years that went before, in the same year. The monsters are the pandemics. And we acknowledge that with the increased heat, we are likely to see new pathogens develop, and by extension, new pandemics are likely to emerge. But even as we speak, separate from that, our abuse of antibiotics, antimicrobials, has led to an extraordinary level of antimicrobial resistance that now makes that responsible for the third highest number of deaths directly and indirectly in the world, and by 2050, it shall be responsible for the highest volume of deaths in the world, reversing a century of medical progress and making simple things like going to the dentist or going in the garden or having a baby risky things if you get an infection. We have seen environmental degradation generally, but in particular degradation of our soils. And there is the belief that it will considerably impact the already threatened food security that we have as a result of the impact of climate itself. But soil degradation in and of itself will make it worse. We are seeing the collapse of ecosystems and the collapse of and further loss of biodiversity. Things that we were accustomed to seeing are finding themselves removed from our environment. And at the same time, globally, we have 35 million people, refugees, across the world, fleeing wars, violence, persecution, and abject poverty, right here in our own region to across the world. The world itself is a dangerous place to be. The 1st of December, France had a government, as did Syria. Today, the 10th of December, both have been gone for a few days. One by law and one by force. We are at an interesting point. We hear of the movement against incumbents more than anything else. Some of it expresses itself in right-wing populism, some of it in the UK, left of center. But in both instances, it's an anti-incumbent move, largely because much of what people have had to experience in this polycrisis moment in the last 5 years has made life difficult for most and perplexing for all. The spectacle of fake news and the inability to control a narrative to build a nation, where broadcasting used to be the order of the day and now narrowcasting and echo chambers replace it. We have more than ever to determine what does love look like in this, the third decade of the 21st century. And because time limits me, I'll just address a few matters. One, as it relates to regional integration and foreign policy. Two, as it relates to the reform of the international financial system and by extension our capacity to meet the global public goods that are critical for our survival on the planet as people. And finally, the utter and absolute importance as Caribbean people of the psychological reinforcement of our cultural identity to give us purpose and to give us unity and solidarity to weather these difficult times as the New World Order finds itself emerging. May not be for a few decades, maybe as soon as the next 5-10 years. And it is slow upon us when all of a sudden, as we saw in Syria, it is immediately upon us. And that is the nature of the world in which we live today, where the powers that influence and the information that is generated goes way beyond the nation state. And to that extent, on this day of International Human Rights Day, one asks yourself, what will that new world order look like? And what will truly be the power of nation states? Will small states be able to survive without deep functional cooperation and pooling? Or will they become collateral victims as the world seeks to line up behind great powers yet again? Particularly if the multilateral rules-based system that we have is not allowed to work for us. I say to you that it is critical that we not be sucked in to the bankruptcy of the current global world order. And if we go back to what love was for Michael Manley, and I'm amazed at the extent to which even the language used foretold the times in which we come to live in. There is no doubt that we are in a race against time, and those who doubt it will fail to prepare. And that, for us, means that we recognize that love fundamentally is about caring, seeing, hearing, and feeling. Fundamentally is about resilience, a word that Michael used more ahead of his time than most. And love is about transformation. We have taken long to do some of these things, not because of laziness, but because of the complexity of the root system that has caused us to be victims of another order that effectively took away from us identity and movement. And I dare say that so fundamental is the human resistance against that type of activity that I really believe that that is one of the reasons for the strong anti-incumbent movement globally, coming after 2 to 3 years of restricted movement and increased cost of living where persons are trying to recoup losses in the shortest possible time from a pandemic, that has caused people to say, hey, you didn't see me for a few years, but watch me now, here. And if you don't realize here, I'm going to show you that here. And we've seen it country by country by country by country. But if we come to understanding what that race to become resilient must look like, it is being thrown at us more than ever through the climate crisis. And that is why, in a very real sense, the global south, in its victimhood, has a renewed sense of solidarity, because we all know that we didn't cause the problem, and that in fact we are now bearing double jeopardy, because having been the beast of burden to enrich those who built the Industrial Revolution, we are now the first victims on the front line to the consequences of the Industrial Revolution in terms of greenhouse warming.
So welcome back, guys. I really like Mia Mottly so much. This woman is one of the greatest leaders that we have. One of the brightest, the most courageous, brave leaders that will always come out and tell the truth. They fear no one, they fear nothing. Always coming out in broad light and telling the truth. So Mia Mottly has also been in the front line fighting for the rights of black people. We all know what is happening with our black people in these foreign countries. And thanks to people like Mia Mottly, they have been in the front line trying to correct, trying to make sure that the rights of the black people are respected across the whole world, trying to make sure that we live as equals. So she has been doing that for several years. And one more thing that she has been doing is that she has been trying to wake our leaders up, because our leaders are sleeping. Our leaders have become puppet to these people, and she has been on toast with them, sending numerous messages, trying to wake them up, because they are obviously doing nothing, and people are really crying, people are hurting. So she has talked about very important points in this video. And the first thing she has talked about is fighting hunger and poverty in our countries. Our leaders should make sure that hunger and poverty, and by the way, that is one of the things that is really destroying most of our countries, hunger and poverty, really destroying our countries. And the funny thing is that we have all it requires to fight that. We have lands, we have everything. But the problem comes in whereby the government now has to support, to support us when it comes to this hunger thing. Because we have lands, we can plant, we can farm, we can do all that. But the government is not even ready to provide the equipments that are needed to facilitate all this. And that's why you find them buying food from foreign countries, and you wonder, we have everything that it takes to provide food to fight the issue of hunger and poverty on our own, but we are not doing that. They are just considering getting food from foreign countries so that they can fight hunger with that, but we all know that cannot fight hunger. You need to solve your solution, you need to solve your problems alone with your own people. So depending on the others to solve your problems, it becomes sometimes very difficult. Look at what Ibrahim Traore has done in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso are now farming at highest levels because this guy has made sure that he has provided them with inadequate equipment, the equipment that they need. He has built factories for them. They have the machineries, they have everything they need to facilitate farming in Burkina Faso. And look at how that country is. I don't know if Burkina Faso can get food from outside. There is no way they can do that. They are planting their own food, they are processing it, they are making sure that everything is happening at home. So Mottly has passed a message to our leaders that we should really fight this hunger and poverty thing. Our leaders should really make sure that that problem is completely solved, because it is really destroying many countries. Another thing she has talked about is providing good education system for our young ones. Now, we have been seeing cases whereby our young ones have been going to these foreign lands to go and get better education. Why should they go and get better education far away and we have education in our own countries? That means that the education is not appropriate enough for them to stay and learn it from their own countries. That's why they have to go to these foreign lands to go and learn, and that is not good. As a leader, you should make sure that that is not good. So she has talked about, making sure that the education need to be transformed. Our leaders should transform the education system, because we all know education is everything in any given countries. Education is very important. So if education is transformed, then everything will run smoothly. We don't need to really go to these outside countries to go and learn. And she has talked about a point that has made me, very happy, because we have been doing things like trading in dollars. We believe in dollars, doing everything in dollars. We are even forgetting our own currency. We are forgetting our own currency because it is so low. That's why we have to, you know, to do everything in dollars, trading in dollars, exchanging money in dollars, doing everything in dollars, forgetting even our own currency. And that is not even good, because we are trying to show them that they are more important, and that is not what Miyamoto really wants, because we all know we are fighting one common enemy. So if we show them that their currency is more important than ours, then where are we heading as black people? These people are considering us the third world countries because they know we are very poor and we cannot even exploit our own resources. And by the way, they're calling us third world countries, but they know very well for them to survive also, they need our resources. They need to come and exploit our resources. I have been doing videos about bauxite mining in Jamaica. Jamaicans have been complaining that this bauxite does not even help them. It is being mined and taken to these foreign lands, and the government is the only one that is getting something out of it. But Jamaican people are getting nothing out of it. So poverty keeps on rising and rising and rising. And we have ways whereby we can, contain this. We have better ways to contain this. I remember somebody wrote a comment and said that if only the government can find ways in a way that we can process this bauxite, make sure that everything happens at home, so that when they come in, they just have to buy the final, the final goods. But now it's sad the government does not see things that way. So it has allowed investors to come and mine this bauxite, and Jamaican people are crying and crying. They are losing their jobs because out of this bauxite mining, people cannot be able to farm, fish, and do their activities, which has been putting food on their tables. Now, so those are some of the ways that our leaders are failing and failing us. We are allowing investors to come and mine our natural resources, but we are not benefiting from them. So they're just getting rich in their countries, and we are remaining poor, and we will be forever remain poor if we are not that keen. So that's why leaders like me, when they come out and talk of these things, it makes me so proud, because we need to correct the system. We need to change everything that is happening within our leaders. They need to know, they need to get an example from Ibrahim Traore, because now Burkina Faso is one of the best countries so far in Africa. The best. That's why many people are just wishing that this guy was their president, because he has managed to control every situation in Burkina Faso. And that's why they are very happy. So this is an example that our leaders should actually follow. So I don't know what you guys have to say about Mia Motley's speech. So in the comment section, you can tell me. So thank you for watching this video. Until my next video, peace out.